Going back a week, it's frustrating to be so close and to still come up short. I was proud of the way a lot of guys really played. I think defensively for 3 quarters, I thought we played outstanding football. I continue to look at the growth of Kevy Rose and the way he's playing. Deshaun Hall, DJ Jackson is getting more and more minutes up front. Michael Clark is doing a really nice job for us. I think our linebackers are really starting to come into their own, and I say that because Trey Baldwin and Tyler Grubbs have been playing a major role, but to see the way Cody Fulp has come in and the minutes that he's given us right now, Mackie Carabin, I think even Alan Walker is doing a really nice job. Those 5 guys are playing really well for us at linebacker. B.J. Williamson continues to step up. I was proud of Khalil Adler Saturday. Balaam Buchanan, unfortunately, wasn't able to finish the game, but I thought he played really well at corner. I thought for 3 quarters, our defense, I think they were like 3 of 11 through the first 3 quarters on third down. Unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, we had that score to put us up 20-17, and they had a 20-play drive that went down and tied the game up. I think offensively we do some good things, but we're not consistent enough at anything to do what we need to do. We had, I thought our special teams played really well, especially, our punt team. We averaged 45 yards a punt and downed the ball on the 1, the 6, and the 10, and kept them kind of backed up a long way away, making them drive 90-plus yards to try and get a score. And our defense came up with stops, and our offense had good field position. Unfortunately, we weren't able to capitalize on it. Probably the bright spot of the offense was with 2 minutes to go at half. Right before the half, they executed a 2-minute drive that went down the field and scored, and then we're able to they ran a kickoff back, and then we were able to go down and get another field goal out of it. So I thought the final 2 minutes of the game in a 2-minute mindset, the offense actually did some consistent things and got some bigger chunks of yardage. I think they did a much better job protecting the quarterback this week. Up front on the offensive line, I thought all 5 of those guys, with Dakota White being in at tackle because Byron Russell had an injury, I thought he did a nice job. The receivers continue to play well. When you talk about Trey and Smoke and Griffin Abear, those guys there, we have to get a running game going where we can run the ball with some type of consistency. It seems like when we don't make it, we get, when we don't make it, we get 1, and when we do, we get 4. It's just not good enough right now to be able to move the ball and continue drives. So frustrating to be so close. I think this team needs a win for our confidence. It doesn't get any easier this week with UAB, but I thought some guys played well. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to score 1 more point than they did. I thought J.D. Head came in and did a couple good things. With Austin going out, injury-wise, we've got a couple people bumped and bruised. I talked about Balin didn't finish the game. We'll have to see how he's progressing this week. Same thing with Austin Kendall with his injury, to see if he's going to be able to go. Probably on a positive news, Juwan Johnson is cleared to start practice. And so we'll see what he can do and see how he holds up as we go through this week of practice. So we've got 4 games remaining on the schedule, and the attitude right now is we just got to find a way to win. It's I think the attitude and the togetherness of this team, they certainly haven't thrown in the towel. But like I said, we need something good to happen to us at this point. We're struggling right now. And being so close and not being able to get it finished, it's just frustrating, not only for our players, our coaches, but also our fans as well. And so need to find a way to get a win this week with UAB.
We'll open it up for questions, starting with Ethan.
Hi, Skip. How are you doing today?
I'm okay, thank you.
Coach, so we've talked about this throughout the entirety of the season. You guys have gone back and forth, having close games and then having games where you don't have as much offensive production. What do you tell your players when you come off a loss where you could have won by 1 or 2 points? What is the mindset and mentality, and what's the energy in the locker room after a game like that?
Well, it's becoming more and more frustrating in the locker room after a game like that. It happened was once. It's hard for everybody to swallow. It's a painful pill. The second time, SMU was a really painful pill because you had that one won. right there at the end. NC State, the way they competed, it just every time it gets more and more frustrating to accept. They want to win. They're playing hard. We've just got to find a way to, I'm going to say, maybe eliminate a couple mistakes or make a play at an opportunistic moment. We had an opportunity to win the game on defense Saturday. We couldn't get it done. We had an opportunity on offense. We couldn't get it done. And to be that close, it's just frustrating. But I think we've got to, I don't want to say make a play at an opportune moment, but we had opportunities to be able to close the door a couple times and get off the field on defense, or a couple times to convert on maybe a big play or a situation that would have kept us alive on third down to keep a drive alive. We've got to be more consistent with what we're doing with that, and that's coaches. We got to look at the situations we're putting our players in. We got to look at what we're calling, what we're doing with them. We all have to look at ourselves and what we need to do to try and make that one play difference to be able to close out some of those games.
Coach, just to follow up on that really quickly, you mentioned the coaching aspect of it. In practice, are you guys going through drills where you're going through the 2-minute drill and having the defense having to make a stop, or the offense having to make sure that they make a score on that possession because you know you need to get in the end zone? We call it off the ESPN take 30 for 30, where we put the ball on the 30-yard line. You have 30 seconds and you got to go score a touchdown. Or 30 for 30 when you're on your own 30 and you need 30 yards to get into field goal range. We've put them in those competitive situations. We don't do as much of it during the season because you're not trying to get as many competitive situations against each other. You're trying to get, like right now, we're trying to get some guys back so we have the ability to play. So, but we have done quite a bit of them. We do quite a bit of it. We do it almost every day in fall camp, but then not as much towards the end of the season. But yes, we're trying to put them in some of those competitive situations where it's the close of a game and you got to make a difference or make a field goal.
Ben, go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned the success you guys had offensively right there at the end of the first half. Is that something that you might look into exploring offensively? I'm not saying throughout the duration of a 60-minute football game, but just to see if you can get the offense in more of a rhythm, especially early on?
Well, it's certainly something we talked about. It's one of the reasons that we threw the ball as many times as we did in the second half. Unfortunately, we weren't as consistent with that mindset, kind of getting a play called in a hurry, going to the line. It was almost like when our back's up against the wall, let's go. And we went down and made some plays and went down and scored, and we got the ball right back and went down the field again. And even, if Isaiah Graham's toenail's not on the line, we score a second touchdown right there before half. But we came out in the second half and we threw the ball and tried to play a little bit more in that kind of 2-minute mindset. And I think exactly what you just said, trying to get into a rhythm is kind of what we're trying to do. What does that tempo look like? What do those play calls look like? Is it run, pass? Is it mix? Is it a drop back game like 2-minute? We're trying to find the ability to get the offense into a tempo and into a rhythm that everybody's comfortable with, that we can move the ball and we can execute.
Ethan, go ahead.
Coach, you talked about the quarterback situation. Obviously, Austin Kendall is a questionable situation with injury. We didn't see Aaron Allen last week. Are we protecting his red shirt this year because we've only seen him so many times, or what is the situation with that?
No, we just feel like coming out of fall camp, we felt like JD and Aaron were kind of in a head-to-head situation for the backup situation. And we don't really, the year we're trying to preserve right now is JD head. I don't want to play JD in more than 4 games as a quote-unquote true freshman this year with his COVID year last year. But have utilized Aaron if a helmet pops off, etc., to go in, so we don't use JD just for a play and burn one of his games. But in a situation where Austin went down, we said that we'd put JD head in. I think Coach Sloan feels like right now he's a little bit farther ahead, although I think it's close with both of them. Aaron's got experience on his side. But that was a decision that was made to go with JD would be the next guy in the game if something happened to Austin. If Austin can't play this weekend, there's a probability you could see them both. You could see both of them play. I don't know. We haven't gotten that far yet, as we are just getting into our first practice for UAB today. So we'll make that decision, but predicated upon where Austin is. But going into the game last week, because of the week of practices they had, it was said that JD would go in and be the next guy in the game if Austin couldn't play, and that's the direction we went.
Go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned in the open about the play of Keevy Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about his progression now that he's been in the program 3.5 years now. Seems like he's playing at a really high level at that defensive tackle spot.
He really is. He's getting better and better. And I think, him, Deshaun Hall, Michael Clark, DJ Jackson, some of those guys are playing well. But Keevy Rose is really maturing. He's really, I say maturing as a football player, maturing. He's growing into his position. He's 300 pounds. He's playing really fundamentally sound. He's staying square. He's got a base. He's using his hands. He's got a really good understanding of the defense. But he's a guy that I think he gets better and better every week. You come into it, it's hard to really make a quote difference as a nose guard or a defensive tackle. But I think he is definitely making his presence felt. And I look at over the last 5 weeks, I think that guy has probably played as consistent and as well as anybody on our football team. I'm really proud of the progress he's made, and I think Coach Camp has done a really good job with that defensive line. And you got some younger guys like Ben Bell and Kershawn Fisher and Joe Mason and some of those guys that are getting to play an awful lot. But right now, the stability of guys like Deshaun, Michael, and Keevy have really been a staple for us up front.
Ethan?
So looking towards UAB, having to go up against a wide receiver that already has 7 touchdowns on the year and obviously is a favorite for the quarterback to look at, is there a particular corner, a particular safety, defensive back coverage that you plan on running to halt them from scoring as much as they are used to?
Well, I think you have to be careful, because when you look at UAB, Bill Clark does a great job with his program. They are a very physical bunch. They build it from the inside out, and I say that meaning that their strength every year is their offensive and defensive lines. Their offensive lines are big. They run the ball. They run downhill. They're physical. They're a physical football team, and they really take a lot of the options away. If you get into, we'll get into down and distance situations where third and real long, we'll have some coverages and some things that we'll be able to take advantage of, but it makes it very hard on first and second down to do anything other than stop their running game. When you start trying to double receivers, you got to take a guy out of the run fits to go out to help in coverage, and it makes you a little bit weaker in the run game. So I know that UAB is going to line up. They're going to try and run the ball. They're going to give it to their tailback. He's going to run downhill, and they're going to play physical, and you have to stop that. And then what they've done is they've got a really good play-action passing package off of that, and they do a really nice job with it. So I think you'll see some mixture of it predicated upon down and distance situations for sure. And we're going to have to look at whether Balin can play. How much man can we play if Balin's out? Those are things that we're going to have to look at as the week goes on to put the game plan together.
Ethan?
My last question for today, Coach. What do you think is going to be the key factor in whether you guys can come out on the win column on this week?
I think we're going to have to protect the football. We're going to have to do a really good job protecting the football offensively, and we got to try and generate some points, whether that's through the running game or the passing game. And then defensively, I think the key is kind of what you talked about a little bit. We can't give up the big play. We've got to keep the ball in front of us, make them earn it again. They're going to earn some yards rushing. You just got to make sure that you don't give up the home run ball, and you got to make them earn everything they get. So I think offensively, it's going to be about trying to protect the ball and manufacture points, and then defensively it's going to be about not giving up the big play and trying to keep the ball in front and make them snap it again.